The first shift begins with a single decision, a decision so powerful that it has the ability to redirect the entire course of your life. It is the moment you finally say to yourself, I deserve more than this. I deserve a life that reflects my potential, not my fears. Everything starts with this inner declaration. Before the world changes for you, you must first change your stance toward yourself. You must decide that your current limitations are not permanent, that your past does not define your future, and that where you are right now is only a temporary chapter, not the final story. When you make this decision, something awakens inside you, a spark, a fire, a sense of possibility you may not have felt in years. This is not just positive thinking, it is a mental contract between you and the best version of yourself. Most people never make this decision. They tolerate a life far smaller than the one they are capable of living. They shrink themselves to fit into patterns of comfort, routine, and fear. They convince themselves that improvement is too hard, too risky, or too late. They settle, and when you settle, you disconnect from the truth of who you could become. But the moment you choose to stop settling, everything shifts. You reclaim your power, you reclaim your voice, you reclaim the right to design your own life. This decision becomes the foundation upon which dramatic improvement is built. It is the moment you stop living on autopilot and begin living with intention. The reason this decision is so life-changing is simple. It transforms your identity. The moment you decide that you deserve more, you no longer think like someone who is stuck. You begin thinking like someone who is growing. You begin thinking like someone who is rising. Your identity shifts from, this is my life, to, I can change my life. And identity is powerful because your actions will always rise or fall to match the person you believe yourself to be. When you see yourself as capable, worthy, and deserving, you naturally begin to take steps that reflect that belief. You start demanding more from yourself, not out of pressure, but out of purpose. You start embracing the mindset that says, if I want a better life, I must become a better version of myself. This decision also creates a ripple effect through your daily behaviors. You become more aware of how you spend your time. You begin to notice the habits that drain your energy and the habits that elevate your potential. You stop accepting the excuses that used to hold you back. You start replacing fear with curiosity, hesitation with action, and doubt with intention. This is not a magical transformation. It is a deliberate shift in how you approach your life. Improvement becomes something you move toward, not something you just hope for. And once this decision is made, obstacles lose their power over you. Challenges do not disappear, but your relationship with them changes. Instead of seeing them as signs to St. OP, you see them as signals to grow. Instead of letting difficulties weaken your resolve, you allow them to strengthen your determination. The decision that you deserve more becomes your shield against discouragement. It becomes the reason you keep going when the path gets hard. It becomes the voice inside you that says, I am not done yet. I am capable of more than this. What makes this decision truly transformative is that it comes from within. No one can make it for you. No one can hand you a better life. No one can force you to rise. This shift must be chosen, owned, and protected by you. But once you choose it, you unlock a level of personal power that cannot be taken away. You begin walking a path rooted in purpose, clarity, and conviction. You begin separating yourself from the person you used to be. You begin building the life you once only imagined. And that is how dramatic improvement begins, not with resources, not with opportunity, not with circumstances, but with a bold decision to no longer live beneath your potential. The moment you decide you deserve more is the moment the world begins to open in ways you never thought possible. This decision is the first step, the strongest step, and the step that makes every future step meaningful. The second shift begins when you take full responsibility for your life, your actions, your habits, and the results you are experiencing right now. Responsibility is not about blame. It is not about pointing fingers at yourself or others. It is about claiming your power. It is about recognizing that as long as you believe someone else is in control of your life, you will remain stuck. But the moment you say, my life is shaped by my choices, my mindset, and my effort, you take back the wheel. You stop waiting for someone to save you. You stop hoping for circumstances to change on their own. You stop believing that your success depends on luck. Instead, you begin to see that your decisions are the architects of your destiny. This is where real strength is born. When you understand that you are not a victim of life, but the creator of it, This shift requires courage because it forces you to confront the truth that some of your past results came from your own patterns. It requires honesty because it asks you to acknowledge where you have been holding yourself back. Maybe you settled when you should have pushed. Maybe you avoided hard choices because comfort felt easier. Maybe you allowed fear to dictate your actions. None of this makes you weak. It makes you human. But improvement begins when you stop using the past as an excuse and start using it as a lesson. Responsibility allows you to turn every mistake into wisdom, every setback into fuel, and every challenge into a chance to grow. When you embrace responsibility, you stop repeating old cycles because you finally see them for what they are, patterns you have the power to break. Once you adopt this mindset, your life begins to accelerate. You start noticing that you feel lighter, more focused, more in control. You stop taking things personally because you understand that your energy is too valuable to waste on distractions. You stop complaining because complaints do nothing but drain your power. Instead, you start asking yourself better questions. Questions like, what can I change right now? What step can I take today? How can I grow from this? These questions shift your mind from helplessness to possibility. They turn frustration into clarity. They turn stagnation into momentum. Responsibility becomes the foundation that holds your growth steady. It becomes the anchor that keeps you grounded. When life challenges you, responsibility also builds confidence. When you take ownership of your actions, you learn that you can influence the direction of your life. You realize that you do not need permission from anyone to improve. You do not need validation from anyone to rise. You do not need the perfect timing, perfect conditions, or perfect plans. You only need to choose to act, and act consistently. Confidence is built through action, and consistent action comes from responsibility. When you realize that everything you want is influenced by your own effort, you stop waiting and start moving. You stop hoping and start doing. You stop wishing and start creating. This shift in mindset becomes the difference between those who stay stuck and those who rise. The truth is that responsibility is not a burden. It is a privilege. It means you have the ability to choose a new direction at any moment. It means you are not limited by your past. It means you are not controlled by circumstances you cannot change. It means that you have the freedom to rebuild, transform, and elevate your life starting right now. Responsibility gives you the power to rewrite your story one choice at a time. And once you embrace it fully, you will never again feel powerless. You will never again feel like life is happening to you. You will recognize that life is responding to you. You will understand that improvement does not come from wishing. It comes from ownership. And when you live with this level of responsibility, the path forward becomes clearer, stronger, and completely within your control. Discipline is the quiet force that separates those who dream from those who achieve. It is not loud. It is not glamorous. It is not always comfortable. But discipline is the most powerful tool you have for reshaping your life. When you strengthen your mind through daily discipline, you teach yourself that your future matters more than your impulses. You teach yourself that your long-term vision matters more than short-term comfort. You teach yourself that improvement is not something you wait for. It is something you build. Every disciplined action, no matter how small, becomes a brick in the foundation of a stronger, sharper, more focused version of yourself. The person who practices discipline daily eventually becomes unstoppable because they no longer depend on motivation. They depend on commitment. This shift happens when you stop negotiating with your excuses. Excuses will always feel real in the moment. They will always sound convincing. They will always offer you a way to stay comfortable. But discipline allows you to rise above the voice in your head that wants to take the easy path. It gives you the strength to stick to what you said you would do long after the feeling of excitement fades. And it is in these moments, when you continue despite discomfort, that your mind grows. Every time you choose discipline over distraction, your mental muscles strengthen. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, your identity elevates. You begin to see yourself as someone who follows through, someone who is reliable, someone who is in control of their own life. This new identity becomes the fuel that pushes you forward. The beauty of discipline is that it does not require perfection. It requires consistency. You do not need to transform your life overnight. You do not need to change everything at once. You only need to decide that today will not be wasted. Discipline grows through repetition, through showing up again and again, even when no one is watching, even when progress feels slow, even when it feels easier to quit. Improvement is hidden inside these small, everyday decisions. Waking up with intention, protecting your focus. And an empowered mind can transform any life, starting with yours. A life without clear goals drifts from day to day without direction, without urgency, and without a sense of deeper purpose. But the moment you build goals that pull you forward, everything begins to change. Goals act like internal magnets. They draw your energy, your attention, and your actions toward a meaningful destination. They give your day structure. They give your choices clarity. They give your mind something powerful to move toward. When you have a strong goal, you no longer wake up wondering what to do. You wake up knowing exactly why you must rise. Goals transform confusion into purpose and hesitation into motion. They lift you out of stagnation by giving you a reason to grow beyond your present limits. Strong goals reshape the way you see yourself. They challenge you to think bigger, to aim higher, and to step into a version of yourself you may have previously doubted. They force you to confront your fears and push past the boundaries you once accepted. When a goal is powerful enough, it becomes a source of internal pressure, the good kind of pressure, the kind that urges you to improve. It becomes a voice that whispers, "You are made for more. Keep going." This type of pull is far stronger than external motivation because it comes from your own inner desire to evolve. When your goals excite you, they naturally raise your standards. You stop settling for what is easy. You stop accepting the habits that slow you down. You stop letting distractions rule your time. Your goals make these decisions for you by giving your mind something more valuable to pursue, but goals only become powerful when they are clear. Vague goals create vague results. You must define exactly what you want and why you want it. Clarity creates focus. Focus creates consistency. Consistency creates progress, and progress creates belief. When you break your goal down into clear steps, your mind becomes calmer because it understands the path ahead. You no longer feel overwhelmed by the size of your vision because you have given yourself a roadmap. Each small step becomes a victory. Each completed task builds momentum, and each piece of momentum strengthens your belief that your goal is possible. This is where transformation begins, not in giant leaps, but in the steady, intentional movement created by clarity. A powerful goal also demands sacrifice. Every meaningful achievement requires letting go of something. Old habits, old excuses, old versions of yourself that no longer serve your future. When you choose a goal that truly matters, you naturally begin reorganizing your life around it. You say no to what distracts you. You distance yourself from what dulls your ambition. You eliminate what drains your energy. You start choosing habits that align with your purpose. This process of aligning your actions with your goals creates a powerful sense of inner strength. You begin respecting yourself, or because you are living with intention rather than disorder. You begin trusting yourself more because you are following a path that reflects your potential rather than your fears. The greatest gift a meaningful goal gives you is transformation. Not just external transformation, but internal. You become someone with direction, someone with purpose, someone who wakes up with a reason to push forward. Your goal changes the way you speak to yourself. It changes the way you plan your days. It changes the way you respond to challenges. Instead of seeing obstacles as signs to quit, you begin seeing them as part of the process. Instead of doubting yourself, you begin to believe that every step, no matter how small, is moving you closer to something extraordinary. When your goal is strong enough to pull you, you no longer force progress. Progress becomes a natural part of who you are becoming. This is the power of building goals that pull you forward. They don't just improve your life. They reshape your identity. They elevate your mindset. They strengthen your spirit, and they give your journey meaning. With a clear goal, you no longer wander. You rise. Your mind is the command center of your entire life, and what you allow into it determines the quality of your thoughts, your actions, and your future. Guarding your mind from negativity is one of the most powerful steps you will ever take toward dramatic improvement. Negativity is subtle. It often enters quietly, disguised as harmless doubt, casual pessimism, or the opinions of people who have never built anything meaningful. But once it enters your mind, it begins to shape the way you see yourself and the world around you. It drains your confidence, weakens your focus, and limits your potential. Protecting your mind means becoming aware of what you consume, what you think about, what you listen to, and what you allow to influence you. When you guard your mind deliberately, you create a mental environment where growth becomes possible. This shift begins with understanding how powerful your thoughts truly are. Every thought you entertain becomes a seed planted in your subconscious. If the seed is negative, it grows into self-doubt, laziness, fear, and hesitation. If the seed is positive and empowering, it grows into courage, ambition, clarity, and discipline. Many people underestimate how deeply their inner dialogue impacts their actions. They allow negative thoughts to roam freely, not realizing that those thoughts are shaping their habits, choices, and life outcomes. When you guard your mind, you take control of the conversation happening inside you. You replace thoughts that weaken you with thoughts that strengthen you. You choose language that empowers you rather than limits you. And over time, this creates a powerful internal shift where your mindset becomes a source of fuel rather than friction. Guarding your mind also requires distance from negativity around you. Not every voice deserves access to your energy. Some voices discourage you, not because they are realistic, but because they are limited by their own fears. Some people project their insecurities onto you without realizing it. Some environments drain your ambition and leave you feeling stuck. When you begin filtering these influences, you reclaim your mental space. You stop absorbing fear that does not belong to you. You stop internalizing doubt that has nothing to do with your potential. Instead of being shaped by the world around you, you begin shaping your inner world intentionally. You choose what enters your mind. You choose what stays. You choose what you reject. That level of control is where true inner strength begins. Once negativity is removed, your mind becomes sharper and clearer. You begin seeing possibilities where you once saw problems. You begin noticing opportunities that were invisible when your thinking was clouded. You begin believing in solutions instead of obstacles. A guarded mind is a focused mind. It does not waste energy worrying about things out of its control. It does not replay past failures. It does not entertain thoughts that lead nowhere. Instead, it directs its energy toward growth, action, clarity, and improvement. This mental clarity becomes a competitive advantage in every aspect of your life. You make better decisions. You take more intentional steps. You respond to challenges with strength instead of panic. The quality of your life rises because the quality of your thinking rises. Most importantly, guarding your mind builds emotional resilience. Negativity makes you react impulsively, doubt yourself easily, and give up quickly. But when your mind is shielded and strengthened, your emotional reactions become more stable. You no longer fall apart under pressure. You no longer allow criticism to break you. You no longer let fear dictate your choices. Instead, you think before reacting. You breathe before responding. You move forward with calm determination. A protected mind cannot be easily shaken because its strength comes from within, not from external approval or circumstances. When your mind is fortified, your life becomes anchored. You stop breaking under stress and start rising above it. Guarding your mind is not a one-time task. It is a lifelong practice. It is the decision every day to choose thoughts that empower you over thoughts that chain you. It is the commitment to filter what enters your mental space and to protect your focus, your peace, and your inner strength. When you master this, your entire life begins to change because improvement becomes the natural result of a mind that refuses to be controlled by negativity. A guarded mind becomes a powerful mind, and a powerful mind builds a powerful life. Your environment shapes your energy more than you realize. And when you elevate the environment around you, you elevate the person within you. Everything in your surroundings sends signals to your mind, signals that either push you forward or pull you backward. The people you interact with, the conversations you engage in, the habits you see, the standards you witness every day, all of these become the invisible forces guiding your decisions. When you surround yourself with low energy, low ambition, and low expectations, you slowly begin to mirror those patterns. But when you place yourself in an environment filled with growth, discipline, and forward movement, your mind naturally rises to match that energy. Improvement becomes easier not because life becomes simpler, but because your surroundings no longer hold you down. The first shift in elevating your environment begins with awareness. You must become conscious of how certain people influence your mindset. There are individuals who drain your drive, cloud your clarity, and shrink your vision. They may not do it intentionally, but their energy interrupts your progress. Then there are people who inspire you, challenge you, and remind you of what you're capable of. Their presence elevates your thinking. Their words push you toward higher standards. Their mindset awakens something powerful within you. When you elevate your environment, you begin choosing influence intentionally. You stop giving emotional access to those who limit you, and you start surrounding yourself with voices that speak to your potential rather than your fears. This single shift can change the direction of your life because the mind absorbs whatever it is around the most. Another important part of elevating your environment is upgrading your standards. If your current surroundings encourage laziness, distraction, or comfort, you will unconsciously adopt those habits. But when your environment reflects excellence, even in small ways, you begin raising your expectations for yourself. Clean spaces lead to clearer thoughts. Organized surroundings lead to organized decisions. A calm environment leads to a calmer mind. When you remove physical clutter, you also begin removing mental clutter. You create space for focus, creativity, and discipline. This is why improving your environment is not a luxury. It is a psychological strategy. It teaches your mind that you are preparing for something greater, something meaningful, something worthy of your effort. Elevating your environment also requires you to be intentional with what you consume. The books you read, the voices you listen to, the ideas you expose yourself to, these shape your internal world. Your mind is influenced by what it repeatedly hears, and if you want to grow, you must feed it information that builds you rather than breaks you. You must choose content that strengthens your discipline, sharpens your thinking, and fuels your ambition. When you consistently expose yourself to empowering ideas, your mind becomes aligned with growth. You begin thinking bigger. You begin believing in your potential more deeply. You begin noticing possibilities where you once saw limits. Your environment becomes a source of energy that pushes you forward. Even on days when your motivation is low, as your environment improves, your habits transform naturally. You begin distancing yourself from distractions that no longer match the person you are becoming. You start valuing your time more. You begin choosing activities that align with your goals rather than your impulses. Improvement becomes your default mode because your surroundings remind you of your purpose. When you elevate your environment, you make it harder to fall back into old patterns. You make it easier to stay committed. You make inconsistency less accessible. Your surroundings become your accountability partner, constantly nudging you toward the life you are building. The most powerful part of elevating your environment is how quietly it transforms you. It doesn't demand effort the way discipline does. It doesn't require constant focus the way mindset training does. It works in the background, shaping your identity without you even noticing. When you walk into a space that reflects clarity, strength, and ambition, you begin acting in alignment with those qualities. When you interact with people who are growing, you become inspired to grow. When your environment supports your goals, your mind becomes unstoppable. Elevating your environment is not about luxury. It is about alignment. It is about creating surroundings that match the life you want, not the life you're escaping. When you choose your environment with intention, you protect your energy, sharpen your focus, and accelerate your growth. Your surroundings either limit your rise or strengthen it. When you elevate them, you elevate everything about yourself. Growth happens the moment you decide to step into the unknown and welcome challenges instead of avoiding them. Most people run from anything uncomfortable because discomfort feels threatening. But what they fail to understand is that discomfort is not a sign of danger. It is a sign of expansion. Every new skill, every new level of discipline, every new achievement requires you to do something you have not done before. And anything new will naturally feel uneasy at first. But when you step toward challenges instead of stepping away, you begin training your mind to see struggle as a path to strength, not a barrier to success. This shift changes everything because it transforms fear into fuel. It teaches you that you are capable of far more than you once believed. Challenges reveal your true potential. The person you are today is built from yesterday's discomfort. Moments when you pushed yourself instead of quitting. Moments when you chose the harder path because you knew it would make you stronger. Growth requires pressure. Diamonds are formed under pressure. Muscles grow through tension. Minds sharpen through struggle. Every challenge you face is shaping you into someone more capable, more confident, and more resilient. When you willingly step into difficult situations, you build the mental toughness that separates those who rise from those who remain stagnant. Improvement does not come from avoiding discomfort. It comes from embracing it with intention, knowing that every challenge is preparing you for the life you want. Stepping into growth also requires you to detach from the fear of failure. Failure is often misunderstood. People think failure means they are not good enough. They think it means they should stop. They think it means their dream is not meant to happen. But failure is simply feedback. It is information. It is a mirror showing you what needs adjustment. When you fear failure, you stop trying. When you stop trying, you stop progressing. But when you embrace failure as part of the journey, you become fearless in your pursuit. You start taking risks, making moves, and experimenting with new strategies. Every failure becomes a teacher, guiding you toward better decisions. When you stop fearing failure, you unlock a level of growth that most people never experience because they stay trapped in their comfort zones. Growth also demands patience. Real improvement does not happen overnight. It happens in moments you often overlook. The daily effort, the small wins, the habits repeated without applause. You may not see progress immediately, but every step builds upon the last. Growth is a slow, steady climb, not a sudden jump. When you step into challenges with patience, you begin to understand that the process itself is the reward. You discover qualities within yourself, resilience, discipline, focus, that you never knew existed. And these qualities, once developed, become the tools you use to achieve everything you desire. One of the greatest benefits of embracing challenges is the confidence it builds. Confidence does not come from comfort. It comes from overcoming. When you face something difficult and overcome it, you begin to trust yourself at a deeper level. You prove to yourself that you can handle pressure, uncertainty, and obstacles. This trust becomes unshakable. It becomes the foundation of a powerful identity. You start seeing yourself not as someone who survives challenges, but as someone who conquers them. This identity shift is what allows you to rise to higher levels of success because you stop underestimating your abilities. Eventually, embracing challenges becomes a way of life. You no longer seek the easy route because you understand that ease does not lead to elevation. You choose growth over comfort, progress over excuses, and responsibility over avoidance. And each challenge you face builds momentum. Each step forward strengthens your mind. Each moment of discomfort adds another layer to the person you are becoming. When you step into challenges willingly, you discover that the life you want is not on the other side of comfort. It is on the other side of courage. You grow not because life gets easier, but because you become stronger. And once you learn to embrace this truth, nothing can stop you from rising. The next step in transforming your life is learning to rise above the noise of distraction. Every day, countless things try to pull your attention away from what truly matters. Messages, notifications, opinions, temptations, and endless entertainment all compete for your mind. And when your attention is scattered, your life becomes scattered. When your focus is weak, your results become weak. But when you take control of your attention, you take control of your future. This is why mastering your focus becomes a defining skill in the journey of self-improvement. You cannot become who you are meant to be if you are constantly being dragged away by everything around you. You must decide with full conviction that your mind will no longer be a playground for distractions. Your mind must become a disciplined environment where thoughts are directed, not wasted, where energy is invested, not drained, and where intention becomes more powerful than impulse. The truth is, distractions are not just external. They live inside you as well. Doubt, fear, hesitation, old habits, and emotional impulses distract you just as much as screens or noise. So the battle is not only with the world, but also with yourself. You must train your mind to ignore what does not serve your growth. You must train your emotions to obey your purpose rather than sabotage it. This requires practice. It requires awareness. It requires the willingness to catch yourself drifting and pull yourself back again and again. You are not weak for losing focus. You are weak only if you stop fighting for it. Every time you bring your mind back to your purpose, you strengthen your mental muscles. Every time you resist the pull of distraction, you sharpen your discipline. And every time you choose to focus on what truly matters, you gain power over your life. What most people do not realize is that focus is not a natural talent. It is a cultivated ability. Anyone can learn it. Anyone can train it. Anyone can build it. And when you do, your life changes. Goals that once felt impossible now become manageable. Tasks that overwhelmed you become clear. Dreams that seemed distant start moving toward you. Focus is the amplifier of your potential. Without it, you are powerful but scattered. With it, you become unstoppable. So choose to give your attention only to the things that elevate you, strengthen you, and move you toward the version of yourself you want to become. This is also where the discipline of protecting your environment becomes essential. You must create conditions that support your focus instead of destroying it. This might mean reducing noise, minimizing temptations, organizing your space, or setting boundaries with people who constantly interrupt your flow. If you do not shape your environment will shape you. And often it shapes you into someone distracted, reactive, and unproductive. But when you build an environment that nourishes your focus, your mind stops fighting battles. It should not have to fight. It finds clarity more easily. It stays steady. It becomes aligned with your goals. Above all, improving your focus is an act of self-respect. It is the decision to stop letting everything and everyone pull you away from your own life. It is the decision to honor your time and treat your attention as the valuable resource it is. Because once a moment is gone, you cannot get it back. Once a day is wasted, it is gone forever. And the number of days you have is limited. So choose to guard them fiercely. Choose to invest them consciously. Choose to focus on what makes your life better, stronger, and more meaningful. That is how you rise above distraction. That is how you elevate your mind. And that is how you dramatically improve your life. Time is the most valuable resource you possess, yet it is the one most people squander without thought. Every day, 60 minutes pass by, and with them, countless opportunities to grow, to learn, and to advance your life. You cannot recover lost time, and no amount of money or influence can buy more of it once it has slipped away. Yet most people live as if time is endless, surrendering it to distractions, procrastination, and tasks that carry no long-term benefit. The secret to dramatic improvement lies not in wishing for more hours, but in mastering the ones you already have. When you learn to value each moment as precious, your decisions change, your priorities shift, and your life begins to transform in ways that seem almost instantaneous. Mastering time starts with awareness. You must be brutally honest about how you spend your hours. Where do your minutes vanish? Which habits consume more than they give? Which routines elevate you and which leave you exhausted and stagnant? Awareness alone will not change your life, but it is the foundation of control. Once you see clearly where your time goes, you gain the power to redirect it. You begin to separate what is urgent from what is important, what is necessary from what is optional. You start organizing your day around the tasks that actually build your future, rather than those that merely fill the moment. This conscious approach to time turns it from an enemy into an ally, a tool you can wield to achieve extraordinary results. The next step is intentionality. Each action, each decision, and each block of time must have purpose. When you act without intention, you drift. When you act with intention, you move forward with momentum. Every habit, every appointment, every interaction should either contribute to your growth or reinforce your identity as someone committed to improvement. This does not mean every minute must be maximized for productivity, but it does mean that you stop giving away your energy to things that do not serve you. Learning to protect your time is learning to protect yourself. It is saying without words that your future matters more than distraction, your goals matter more than convenience. NCE, and your growth matters more than fleeting pleasure. Equally important is the discipline to eliminate wasted time. Social media, meaningless conversations, endless entertainment, and indecision quietly rob you of the hours that could have been invested in your dreams. The danger is subtle. You may not feel the loss until years later when you look back and realize how many days were surrendered to the trivial. But when you take decisive control over these moments, you gain enormous leverage over your life. You free mental space for creativity. You increase energy for action. You develop clarity and purpose that would otherwise be diluted by endless distractions. Every moment reclaimed is a building block for the life you are determined to create. Mastering time also requires prioritization. Life is full of tasks, obligations, and demands, but not all of them deserve equal attention. The key is to focus on high-value activities, the things that compound over time, the choices that move you toward your goals, the habits that strengthen your mind, body, and spirit. When you spend your time wisely, your results multiply. When you protect your attention, your energy amplifies. When you invest in the most important areas, your future transforms. Time, once mastered, becomes a force multiplier. Ultimately, valuing your time is a declaration of self-respect and self-mastery. It is a recognition that life is finite and that every hour, every minute, and every second matters. When you commit to mastering your time, you stop reacting to life and start designing it. You stop being pushed around by circumstance and begin steering with purpose. And in this mastery, you discover the incredible truth. The life you dream of is not a matter of luck or chance, but a direct reflection of how you choose to spend your moments. Every second becomes a step forward. Every day becomes a building block. Every choice compounds into the extraordinary life you deserve. Mastering your emotions is one of the most powerful keys to transforming your life. Emotions are not just fleeting feelings. They are the driving force behind every decision, every action, and every result you achieve. Anger, fear, frustration, doubt, and impatience can control you if left unchecked, dictating your behavior and limiting your potential. Most people live as if their emotions are uncontrollable, believing that how they feel must determine how they act. But true power comes when you understand that your emotions can be guided, managed, and aligned with your goals. Emotional mastery is the bridge between who you are today and the person you are capable of becoming. The first step in mastering your emotions is awareness. You must notice what triggers your strongest reactions, which thoughts, events, or people provoke anxiety, irritation, or self-doubt. Once you identify these triggers, you can begin to respond with control rather than reflex. Emotional awareness allows you to pause before react, in giving your rational mind a chance to lead your choices. You no longer allow temporary feelings to dictate permanent actions. You no longer give power to impulses that serve no purpose. Instead, you act with intention, aligning your emotions with the person you are striving to become. Control does not mean suppressing feelings. It means redirecting them toward growth. Fear can become motivation, frustration can become fuel, and doubt can become a tool for refinement. Every strong emotion carries energy. It is up to you to decide whether that energy will work for you or against you. The person who masters emotions does not eliminate challenges, setbacks, or stress. They transform the emotional response to those situations into strength, clarity, and determination. This is the difference between someone who is at the mercy of life and someone who is in command of it. Emotional mastery allows you to maintain calm in chaos, focus when pressure rises, and confidence when uncertainty looms. A key part of emotional control is shifting your perspective. Instead of viewing obstacles as threats, see them as opportunities to test and strengthen your resilience. Instead of taking criticism personally, see it as information to refine your actions. Instead of reacting impulsively, respond with thoughtfulness. This perspective does not come naturally. It is built through practice, repetition, and conscious choice. Every time you choose response over reaction, you reinforce a pattern of emotional strength. Every time you choose clarity over panic, you expand your capacity for success. Over time, these choices accumulate into a life governed by purpose rather than emotion. Emotional mastery also strengthens relationships, productivity, and decision-making. When your emotions are balanced, you communicate more effectively, handle pressure with poise, and make choices that align with long-term goals rather than short-term impulses. Life becomes less chaotic because your inner world is stable, consistent, and resilient. You become a force rather than a passenger in your own journey. Finally, mastering your emotions requires commitment. It is not a skill you acquire once and then forget. It is a lifelong practice of noticing, adjusting, and refining. You will face moments when old habits of reactivity creep in. But each time you return to calm, clarity, and intention, you strengthen your emotional muscles. The result is a life where you are not controlled by fleeting feelings, but guided by purpose. You act from a place of power rather than fear. You make decisions with confidence. And as a result, every area of your life improves. Mastering your emotions transforms not just how you feel, but who you are, how you act, and ultimately the life you are capable of creating. Persistence is the silent engine that drives every significant achievement. Life is never a straight path, and no one reaches their highest potential without facing obstacles, setbacks, and moments that test their resolve. Most people give up too soon, abandoning their dreams at the first sign of difficulty, the first failure, or the first discomfort. But the person who persists does not allow temporary defeat to dictate their future. They understand that every challenge is not a stop sign, but a stepping stone. Persistence is the demonstration of commitment when hope seems distant, when results are slow, and when circumstances appear unfair. It is the bridge that carries vision into reality, turning intention into accomplishment. True persistence begins with mindset. It is not about stubbornly repeating the same action without thought. It is about maintaining unwavering determination in the face of adversity while learning and adjusting along the way. The persistent person is strategic, patient, and unrelenting. They treat failures not as permanent endings, but as lessons to guide their next step. Every obstacle becomes a teacher, every setback a source of insight, and every criticism an opportunity to refine their approach. Persistence transforms ordinary effort into extraordinary results because it compounds over time. Every day you continue, even when it feels impossible, adds to the momentum that eventually creates breakthroughs you could not have anticipated. Persistence also builds resilience, the ability to recover quickly from difficulties. The more you endure, the stronger your mindset becomes. You begin to recognize that discomfort is temporary, that challenges are necessary, and that the process of pushing forward, even slowly, is more valuable than any momentary ease. Resilience, born from persistence, allows you to stay the course when others quit, to keep moving when the path is steep, and to trust that your consistent effort will yield results if maintained over time. This is why those who persist often achieve what others consider impossible. They refuse to let temporary circumstances define their destiny. A crucial aspect of persistence is internal motivation. External rewards and recognition are unreliable. They may arrive late or not at all. Persistence requires that your drive comes from within, from a deep understanding of your purpose and the life you want to create. When your motivation is intrinsic, nothing can derail you. You keep moving forward because your vision compels you, not because anyone is watching or applauding. This self-driven commitment is the hallmark of extraordinary achievement, and it is what separates those who merely dream from those who consistently realize their potential. Persistence is also closely tied to consistency. Small actions repeated over time are far more powerful than occasional bursts of effort. The person who persists does not wait for perfect conditions or optimal circumstances. They act, they adjust, and they continue. This daily dedication compounds in ways that are almost invisible in the moment, but transformative over months and years. It is the accumulation of consistent effort, fueled by persistence, that produces dramatic results in life, career, and personal growth. Ultimately, persistence is more than a habit. It is a declaration of identity. It is a statement that you are someone who does not quit, someone who refuses to be defined by setbacks, and someone who is committed to the long game. When persistence becomes part of your character, it becomes unstoppable. You move forward through fear, failure, and doubt. You rise above challenges that would break others. You build a life that reflects not luck, opportunity, or circumstance, but the relentless power of your own commitment. And that is why persistence is one of the most decisive factors in dramatically improving your life. It ensures that no matter what comes, you continue climbing, growing, and achieving. Gratitude is one of the most underestimated forces in the pursuit of a dramatically improved life. Most people think of gratitude as a fleeting feeling or a polite acknowledgement, but in reality, it is a powerful mindset that shapes perception, behavior, and resilience. Gratitude rewires the mind to focus on abundance rather than lack, on possibilities rather than limitations. When you consciously practice gratitude, you begin to notice the opportunities, lessons, and resources that surround you every day. You stop obsessing over what you don't have and start maximizing what is already present. This shift in perspective has a ripple effect. It improves your emotional state, strengthens your relationships, and enhances your ability to take purposeful action toward your goals. Gratitude also reduces the power of negativity. When the mind dwells on fear, envy, regret, or resentment, it becomes distracted, anxious, and powerless. But when gratitude is present, these negative emotions lose their grip. You begin to see setbacks as temporary, challenges as learning opportunities, and failures as part of the process, rather than a permanent defeat. Gratitude turns obstacles into stepping stones because it changes the lens through which you view life. It is not about denying difficulties. It is about choosing to see the value hidden within them. When you focus on what is working, what you have achieved, and the potential that still exists, your mind naturally becomes more resilient, positive, and action-oriented. The practice of gratitude also strengthens self-belief. When you acknowledge the progress you have made, no matter how small, you reinforce the idea that you are capable of growth, achievement, and transformation. Celebrating incremental victories is crucial because it fuels motivation and perseverance. Every time you recognize what you have accomplished, you create a psychological pattern where effort is linked to reward, not external reward, but internal validation. This internal validation becomes a powerful driver for action. You no longer rely solely on external approval or results to feel worthy or capable. Instead, you build an internal reservo, IR of strength, optimism, and confidence that propels you forward, even in the face of challenges. Gratitude also transforms your relationships. When you appreciate the people, guidance, and support around you, you naturally strengthen your social bonds. People respond to acknowledgement, kindness, and respect, and gratitude fosters both. A network of supportive relationships amplifies growth, provides encouragement, and opens doors that would otherwise remain closed. It also cultivates empathy and patience, enabling you to navigate difficult interactions with composure and perspective. The practice of gratitude is not passive. It is an active investment in the environment and people that influence your journey. Importantly, gratitude shifts your focus from scarcity to possibility. The mind that is fixated on what is missing sees limitation everywhere. The mind that is grateful sees opportunity everywhere. This mindset does not make life easier. It makes life more navigable. You start recognizing paths that were invisible before, taking steps that once felt too risky, and seizing moments you once overlooked. Gratitude becomes a catalyst for creative thinking, problem solving, and resilience, because it opens the mind to what is available rather than what is absent. Finally, practicing gratitude consistently becomes a habit that defines your identity. It shapes how you experience every moment, how you respond to challenges, and how you interact with the world. Gratitude is not about ignoring difficulties. It is about cultivating an inner strength that rises above them. It allows you to appreciate the journey even as you pursue higher goals. And in this practice, life begins to improve naturally. Your mindset, your actions, your relationships, and your results all begin to align with the principle that a grateful mind creates a powerful, unstoppable life. The final step to dramatically improving your life is taking full, consistent action toward everything you desire. Knowledge, mindset, focus, persistence, gratitude. All of these are useless unless they are translated into deliberate action. Most people wait for the perfect moment or the right circumstances before acting, but the truth is that action is what creates momentum, clarity, and results. Action is the bridge between intention and reality. Without it, dreams remain ideas, goals remain plans, and potential remains dormant. The person who takes decisive action, no matter how small, begins to shape their reality immediately, because movement creates feedback, insight, and progress. Every step forward, no matter how difficult, compounds into transformation over time. Action requires courage, because it often involves stepping into uncertainty. It demands that you confront fear, doubt, and discomfort while still moving forward. But this is where growth is born. When you act in spite of hesitation, when you pursue goals even when the outcome is unknown, and when you refuse to let fear dictate. Your choices. Each action you take builds confidence, reinforcing the belief that you are capable of achieving more than you previously imagined. Momentum grows from the simple act of starting and continuing, and it snowballs into results that would have seemed impossible at the outset. Action turns intention into experience, learning into mastery, and vision into reality. Consistent action also strengthens discipline and focus. Every time you follow through, you reinforce your identity as someone who does not quit, who does not procrastinate, and who prioritizes progress over comfort. Small actions repeated daily are more powerful than occasional bursts of effort because they shape habits, and habits shape your life. When you act consistently, you align your energy, your time, and your decisions with your goals. You stop drifting. You stop waiting. You stop relying on chance or luck. You become a force that moves steadily toward the life you want, and this force is unstoppable because it is powered by intention, commitment, and perseverance. Another important aspect of action is learning to adapt without losing momentum. Every step you take produces feedback. Some steps succeed, others fail. Those that fail are not reasons to quit. They are opportunities to adjust, refine, and improve. The person who takes action does not wait for perfect conditions. They learn from what works, discard what doesn't, and keep moving forward. This approach transforms setbacks into tools for growth and mistakes into stepping stones rather than obstacles. The combination of action and reflection creates a cycle of continuous improvement, where each day builds on the last and each choice compounds into extraordinary results. Finally, action empowers you to claim ownership of your life. It is a declaration that you are not a passive observer, that you are not waiting for someone or something to save you, and that you are committed to shaping your destiny. Action transforms knowledge into wisdom, planning into accomplishment, and dreams into reality. It turns possibility into achievement, and it gives meaning to every other principle of improvement you have cultivated along the way. When you take decisive, consistent action, you realize that your potential is not theoretical. It is tangible, achievable, and unfolding with every step. The ultimate truth is that improvement is not an abstract concept. It is the sum of deliberate, courageous, and consistent actions taken over time. Every choice to move forward, every step toward your goals, and every effort to align your habits with your vision is what creates transformation. The life you dream of is built one action at a time. Knowledge gives you the map. Mindset provides the fuel. Focus directs your energy. Persistence carries you through challenges. Gratitude keeps your spirit strong, and action turns it all into reality. When you commit fully to action, the life you once imagined becomes the life you are living,